Imagine waiting over 2 years for answers about the brutal murder of someone you love. The pain, the frustration, the unanswered questions, it's unimaginable. But this is the heartbreaking reality for the families of the Idaho 4. For University of Idaho students, Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Mogen, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, were tragically murdered in their home in Moscow, Idaho, in November 2022. Bryan Kohberger, a criminology PhD student, was arrested and charged with their murders in December of that year. Since then, the case has taken twists and turns, with delays, legal battles, and new revelations coming to light. In this video, we're diving into the latest updates surrounding this case. We'll cover the upcoming trial date, the challenges the defense is raising, new information about Kohberger's past, and the emotional words from the victims' families who are still fighting for justice. There's a lot to unpack, from the legal arguments about DNA evidence to the public's divided opinion on the death penalty. And, of course, the families' voices continue to remind us of what's at stake. If you've been following this case or are just catching up, stick around. You'll want to hear every detail as we break it all down. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss future updates. Let's get started. Let's talk about one of the most pressing updates in this case, the trial date. Mark your calendars, Bryan Kohberger's trial is now set for August 11, 2025. That's over 2.5 years since the tragedy shook Moscow, Idaho. So, why is the trial taking so long to begin? The answer lies in the legal maneuvers we're seeing from the defense team. Bryan Kohberger's attorneys have filed multiple motions to suppress evidence, challenge the legality of search warrants, and question how DNA samples were collected. For example, one of the key pieces of evidence in this case is a DNA match found on a knife sheath at the crime scene. The defense argues that the DNA collection process was flawed, and they want it thrown out. If successful, this could seriously weaken the prosecution's case. Another issue involves search warrants. The defense claims that the warrants used to search Kohberger's apartment and car lack sufficient probable cause. If the court agrees, some of the evidence gathered in those searches might not be allowed in court. These legal challenges aren't unusual in high-stakes cases like this. Experts explain that when the death penalty is on the table, the defense often takes extra time to scrutinize every piece of evidence. It's a strategy designed to ensure no mistakes are made, but it also prolongs the process, leaving families and communities in limbo. But this delay isn't just about paperwork. For the families of Kaylee, Madison, Xana, and Ethan, every day without justice feels like an eternity. Here's what legal experts are saying about these delays. On one hand, they point out that the defense is doing its job, ensuring that Kohberger gets a fair trial, which is a cornerstone of the justice system. On the other hand, they acknowledge that this approach can test the patience of the victims' families and the public. Some believe the prosecution still has a strong case, even if some evidence is suppressed. For instance, cell phone data, surveillance footage, and witness testimonies could help paint a clear picture of what happened that night. The prosecution, meanwhile, is preparing for what's expected to be one of the most closely watched trials in recent memory. They're confident in their evidence but know that any misstep could jeopardize the case. And that raises a critical question: how much of the evidence will the court allow? Will the DNA and search warrants stand up to scrutiny, or will the defense's challenges create doubt? This brings us to a question I want to ask you. Do you think these delays are justified, or is the defense simply buying time? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As we wait for the trial date, all eyes are on the upcoming hearings where these motions will be debated. We'll be keeping a close watch on whether the evidence stands or falls, and what that means for the case moving forward. Every day without answers is another day of pain. My daughter was taken from us, and we still don't know when justice will come. Families of the Idaho 4, Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Mogen, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, continue to express deep frustration with the delays in this case. For them, it's not just about waiting, it's about reliving their loss every time a new motion is filed or the trial date gets pushed further away. Karen Laramie recently shared how hard it is to feel like the legal system is focused on technicalities rather than justice for her daughter. Similarly, the Goncalves family has spoken out about their impatience with the slow pace of proceedings, saying it feels like their voices aren't being heard. Despite their grief, the families are determined to keep the case in the public eye. They've organized events, spoken at press conferences, and shared their stories with media outlets to ensure their children's lives are never forgotten. The families have attended every court hearing, sometimes traveling long distances, just to be present and show their commitment to justice. They've also started scholarship funds and community initiatives in honor of the victims, turning their pain into a way to help others. The support from the Moscow community has been unwavering. Candlelight vigils, fundraisers, and memorials continue to take place, serving as reminders of the lives lost and the strength of those left behind. Just last month, hundreds gathered in Moscow for a memorial walk. The event ended at the victims' former residence, where flowers and candles were placed in their memory. Take a moment to reflect on the incredible loss these families have endured. If you'd like to show your support, consider leaving a comment with a message for the families or lighting a virtual candle in their memory. Every bit of love helps remind them they're not alone in this fight. What do you think about the delays in the trial? Do you believe the families are being heard, or could more be done to support them? The voices of the victims' families remind us of what this case is really about. It's not just a legal battle, it's a fight for justice, closure, and healing. As the trial date approaches, their courage and persistence remain a beacon of hope, not just for them but for everyone who believes in justice. The Idaho 4 case has sparked conversations far beyond the courtroom. It's not just a local tragedy, it's a story that has captured national and even international attention. From debates on social media to discussions among legal experts, the public's reaction to this case has been as varied as it is intense. So let's dive into what people are saying. From the courtroom delays to the possibility of the death penalty, these are the discussions shaping public opinion. Social media has become a powerful platform for people to share their thoughts on the case. While some are frustrated by the delays, others emphasize the importance of getting things right, especially in a trial with such high stakes. Beyond the public's reaction, legal experts have weighed in on the challenges and implications of this trial. Delays, while frustrating, are common in high-profile cases, especially those involving the death penalty. The phrase, "justice delayed is justice denied," has become central to this conversation. But is that always true? Let's break it down. Delays can feel agonizing, but they're often necessary. In a case like this, where the stakes are life or death, the court must ensure every piece of evidence is admissible and every procedure is followed correctly. However, for the families, these delays come at an emotional cost. They're forced to relive their loss with every postponement, and the lack of closure can take a toll on their mental health. Another major topic of discussion is the death penalty. Bryan Kohberger is facing the possibility of capital punishment if found guilty, and this has sparked passionate debate. Some argue that the death penalty is appropriate for such a heinous crime, with one commenter saying, "If not for cases like this, what's the point of having it?" Others are against it, citing moral or practical reasons. A Reddit user wrote, "The death penalty doesn't bring back the victims. Life without parole is a harsher punishment." Criminologist Dr. Elena Reyes explained, capital punishment cases often involve lengthy trials and appeals, which can prolong the process for families seeking closure. Do you think justice delayed is justice denied? And what are your thoughts on the death penalty in cases like this? Share your opinions in the comments below. Before we wrap up, let's quickly revisit the major updates we've covered today. First, the trial for Bryan Kohberger is set to begin on August 11, 2025. This delay, while frustrating, reflects the complexity of the case and the high stakes involved, especially with the possibility of the death penalty. We also talked about the defense's strategy, challenging key evidence like DNA samples and search warrants. These legal battles could shape the outcome of the trial, making every hearing crucial to watch. Finally, we explored the emotional impact on the victims' families. Their advocacy efforts, alongside the support of the Moscow community, serve as a powerful reminder of the strength and resilience of those left behind. So, what's next? With the trial still months away, there are several key moments to watch for. The defense and prosecution will continue to present motions leading up to August. These hearings will address critical questions, like whether certain evidence will be admissible in court. For example, we'll see if the court rules on the knife sheath DNA evidence. Will it remain the cornerstone of the prosecution's case, or will it be suppressed? That decision alone could have a huge impact on the trial. Will the court allow the evidence collected from Kohberger's car and apartment? Could additional details surface as both sides continue their investigations? Beyond the legal proceedings, this case raises bigger questions. How do we balance the need for a thorough legal process with the emotional toll it takes on families? How do we ensure justice is served fairly, but without unnecessary delays? These are the issues that make this case more than just a legal battle. It's a reflection of how our justice system works, especially in high-profile cases where emotions, evidence, and ethics collide. This is a story that's far from over, and I'll be here to keep you updated every step of the way. If you've been following this case, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any updates. I'll cover every major hearing, legal development, and emotional moment as we move closer to the trial date. What are your thoughts on the delays? Do you think they're justified, or is justice taking too long? And what are you most curious to learn as the trial approaches? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective. As we continue to follow this case, let's not forget what it's truly about, for young lives lost and the families who love them. The strength of the Goncalves, Mogen, Kernodle, and Chapin families reminds us all of the importance of justice, healing, and community. Subscribe for more updates. Share your thoughts below.